नाथ मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टर शतस्मार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टर शतस्मार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टर शतस्मार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद शतर शतस्मार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद शतर शतस्मार श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल विष्णु महाभागवत श्री गोक्षर बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। नितिल विष्णु सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नितिल विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपनु गौरिया गुरु वार्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय। नाम श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्यामा कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद शिल भक्ति हृदय बान गोस्वामी महाराज की जाय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जाय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Dandava pranams Madhavi Didi. I'm having trouble with I started right on time today. Well, I came to my computer and I've been having internet trouble for like 10 minutes or however long. And so I don't know if it's gonna go out again. Let's see what happens. But yeah, let me know actually. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahapadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya name gauratishe namaha. Gurave Gondraya Radhikaya Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Avrajantamanupeta Krityang Dvaipayano Viraha Tara Ajuhava Putre Taya Taravo Bhinedus Tang Sarva Bhutta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatsam Tato Jayamudhirayet Shrinvatang Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsa Ashta Prayeshvavadeshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvang Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Radha Lakshai Kshiptastakama Ditaranga Madhe Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanai Ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let's see, is it still working? Looks like it's still working. Okay. Dandavat pranams, Manjari Didi and Gargraj ji. So as I mentioned before, I've been having trouble connecting to the internet for a while now. So let's see if it stays. Sudevi Didi. Yeah, if it goes, let me know. Maybe we'll just have to continue this reading tomorrow. Since we're late, though, I'm just going to jump right into it. Yeah. Chapter 11. The childhood pastimes of... This chapter describes how the inhabitants of Gokula and went to Vṛndāvana, and how Kṛṣṇa killed Vatsāsura and Bakāsura. When the Yamala Arjuna trees fell, they made tremendous sounds like that falling thunderbolts. Being surprised, Krishna's father, Nanda, and the other elderly inhabitants of Gokula went to the spot where they saw the fallen trees and Krishna standing between them, bound to the ulakal, the wooden mortar. They could find no cause for the trees having fallen and Krishna's being there. They thought this might be the work of some other asura who had met Krishna on the spot, and they inquired from the playmates of Krishna about the whole incident had taken place. The children properly described how everything had happened, but the elderly persons could not believe the story. Like Rup Manjari mentioned a few days ago, nobody ever believes the poor little kids. Some of them, however, thought it might be true, since they had already seen many wonderful incidents in connection in Krishna. Anyway, Nanda Maharaj immediately released Krishna from the ropes. And this way, every day and every moment, displayed wonderful incidents to increase the paternal affection of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, who thus felt with surprise and joy. The breaking of the Yama was one of these wonderful pastimes. Fruit vendor approached Nanda Maharaj's house, and Krishna gathered some food grains with his little palms and went to the vendor to exchange the grains for fruit. On the way, almost all the grains fell from his palms. Only one or two grains remaining. But the fruit vendor, out of affection, accepted these grains in exchange for as much fruit as Krishna could take. As soon as she did this, her basket became filled with gold and jewels. Thereafter, all the elderly Gopas decided to leave Gokula because they saw that in Gokula there's always some disturbance. They decided to go to Vṛndāvana, Vrajadham, and the next day they all departed. In Vṛndāvana, both and Balaram, after finishing their childhood pastimes, began to take charge of the calves and send them to the pasturing grounds. During this time, a demon named Vatsāsura entered among the calves and was killed. And another asura, in the shape of a big duck, was also killed. The playmates of Krishna narrated all these stories to their mothers. Again, their mothers could not believe their children, Krishna's playmates, but because of full affection, they enjoyed these narrations of Krishna's activities. Okay, let's check on the internet. So far, so good. Hari Didi, Dandavat Pranam. Shri Shuka Uvacha Goananda Daya Shrutva Drumayo Patatoravam Tatra Jagmo Kurusheshta Nirghata Bhayashankita. Shukadev Goswami continued, O Maharaj Parikshit, when the Yamala Arjuna trees fell, all the cowherd men in the neighborhood, hearing the fierce sound and fearing thunderbolts, went to the spot. Bhumyam nipatito tatra dadrishur Yamala babhramustad avigyaya lakshman patanakaranam. There they saw the fallen Yamala Arjuna trees on the ground, but they were bewildered because even though they could directly perceive that the trees had fallen, they could not trace out the cause for their having done so. Purport Srila Prabhupada. Considering all the circumstances, had this been done by Kṛṣṇa? He was standing on the spot, and his playmates described that this had been done by him. Had Kṛṣṇa actually done this, or were these merely stories? This was a cause of bewilderment. Ulukalam vikarshantam damna baddham kasedam kuta ashcharyam utpa itikatara. Kṛṣṇa was bound by the rope to the ulukala, the mortar, which he was dragging. But how could he have pulled down the trees? Who had actually done it? Where was the source for this incident? Considering all these astounding things, the cowmen were doubtful and bewildered. Purport. The cowherd men were very much agitated because the child Kṛṣṇa, after all, had been standing between the two trees, and if by chance the trees had fallen upon him, he would have been smashed. But he was standing as he was, and still the things had happened. So who had done all? How could these events have happened in such a wonderful way? These considerations were some of the reasons they were agitated and bewildered. They thought, however, that by chance Kṛṣṇa had been saved by God, so that nothing had happened to him. Bala uchur aneti tirya gatam ulukalam vikarshata madhyagena purusha vapyachakshmahi. Then all the cowherd boys said, "It is Kṛṣṇa who has done this. When he was in between the two trees, the mortar fell crosswise. Kṛṣṇa dragged the mortar and the two trees fell down. After that, two beautiful men came out of the trees. We have seen this with our own eyes." Purport. Kṛṣṇa's playmates wanted to inform Kṛṣṇa's father of the exact situation by explaining that not only did the trees break, but out of the brooks came two beautiful men. All these things happened, they said. We have seen them with our own eyes. Na tetar uktam jagrihur na ghatete tasya tat balasyot patanam tarvo kechit sandigta chetasa. Because of intense maternal affection, the cowherd men, headed by Nanda, could not believe that Kṛṣṇa uprooted the trees in such a wonderful way. Therefore, they could not put their faith in the words of the boys. Some of the men, however, were in doubt. Since Kṛṣṇa was predicted to be equal to Narayan, they thought, it might be that he could have done it. Purport. One view was that it was impossible for a small boy like this to have done such a thing as pulling down the trees. But there were doubts because Kṛṣṇa had been predicted to equal Narayan. Therefore, the cowherd men were in a dilemma. And Hari Bol, Sonu Kumar. Yes. I mean, Kṛṣṇa lies all the time, but I don't know about the other cowherd boys. I think that they've been full and honest. So I don't know why I don't believe him. Kalam vikarshantam damna badam samatmajam vilokyananda prahasad vadano vimumochatha. When Nanda Maharaj saw his own son bound with ropes to the wooden mortar and dragging it, he smiled and released Kṛṣṇa. Purport. Nanda Maharaj was surprised Yashoda, Kṛṣṇa's mother, could have bound her beloved child in such a way. Krishna was exchanging love with her. How then could she have been so cruel as to bind him to the wooden mortar? Nanda Maharaj understood this exchange of love, and therefore he smiled and released Krishna. In other words, as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, binds a living entity in fruitive activities, he binds Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj in parental affection. This is his pastime. Gopibhisto vito nrityar bhagavan balavat kvachit udgayati kvachin mugdhas tatvasho daruyantravat. The gopis would say, if you have done, my dear Krishna, if you dance, my dear Krishna, then I shall give you half a sweetmeat. By saying these words or by clapping their hands, all the gopis encouraged Krishna in different ways. At such times, although he was the supremely powerful personality of Godhead, he would smile and dance according to their desire, as if he were a wooden doll in their hands. Sometimes he would sing very loudly at their bidding. In this way, Krishna came completely under the control of the gopis. Bibharti kvachiragyapta pitakonmanapadam bahukshipam cha kurute swanam cha pritima avahan. Sometimes Mother Yashoda and her gopi friends would tell Krishna, bring this article or bring that article. Sometimes they would order him to bring a wooden plank, wooden shoes, or a wooden measuring pot. And Krishna, when thus ordered by the mothers, would try to bring them. Sometimes, as if unable to raise these things, he would touch them and stand there. Just to invite the pleasure of his relatives, he would strike his body with his arms to show that he had sufficient strength. Darshayangstad vinloka atmano bhrittavashyatam vrajyo vahavai harshan bhagavan balacheshtitai. To purities throughout the world, who could understand his activities? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Who could say? Sorry, let me reread that. To pure devotees throughout the world, who could understand his Supreme Personality, Godhead Krishna, exhibited how much he could be subdued by his devotees, his servants. I don't know why I can't sentence anyways. In this way, he increased the pleasure of the Vrajavasis by his childhood activities. Purport. That Krishna performs child activities to increase the pleasure of his devotees was another transcendental humor. He exhibited these activities not only to the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi, but also to others who were captivated by his external potency and opulence. Both the internal devotees, who were simply absorbed in love of Krishna, and the external devotees, who were captivated by his unlimited, were informed of Krishna's desire to be submissive to his servants. 10. Krinihi vo falani te shutva sattvaramachyuta falarti dhanyamadaya yayo sarva phalaprada. Once a woman selling fruit was calling, "O inhabitants of Rajbhumi, if you want to purchase some fruits, come here." Upon hearing this, Krishna immediately took some grains and went to the barter as if he needed some fruits. Purport. Aborigines generally go to the villagers to sell fruits. How much the Aborigines were attached to is here described. Krishna, to show his favor to the Aborigines, would immediately go to purchase fruits, bartering the paddy in his hands, as he had seen others do. Phala vikrayini tasya chuta dhanya karadvayam phaler apurayad ratnai phala bhandam apuricha. Krishna was going to the fruit vendor very hastily. Most of the grains he was holding
fell. Nonetheless, the fruit vendor filled Krishna's hands with fruits, and her basket was immediately filled with jewels and gold. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 96, Krishna says, Patrang pushpam phalam tora yo me bhakta prayachati tam ahang bhaktupahritam ashnami prayatatmana. Krishna is so kind. If anyone offers him a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or some water, he will immediately accept it. The only condition is that these things should be offered bhakti, yome bhaktya prayachati. Otherwise, if one is puffed up with false prestige, thinking, I have so much opulence and I am giving something to Krishna. If one has that false prestige, then one's offering will not be accepted by Krishna. The fruit vendor, although a woman belonging to the poor aborigine class, dealt with Krishna with great affection, saying, Krishna, you have come to me to take some fruit for grains. All the grains have fallen, but still you may take whatever you like. Thus she filled Krishna's palm fruits he could carry. In exchange, Krishna filled her whole basket with jewels and gold. From this incident, one should learn that for anything offered to Krishna with love and affection, Krishna can reciprocate many millions of times over, both materially and spiritually. The basic principle involved is an exchange of love. Therefore, Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita 27, Yat kuroshi yarashnasi yajuhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurushva mararpanam. O son, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering to me. With love and affection, one should try to give something to Krishna from one's source of income. Then one's life will be successful. Krishna is full in all opulences. He does not need anything from anyone. But if one is prepared to give something to Krishna, that is for one's own benefit. The example given in this connection is that when one's real face is decorated, the reflection of one's face is automatically decorated. Similarly, if we try to serve Krishna with all our opulences, we, as parts and parcels or reflections of Krishna, will become happy in exchange. Krishna is always happy, for he is Atmaram, fully satisfied with his own opulence. Saritira Bhagatam Krishnam Bhagnarjunam Athavayat Ramang Charohini Devi Kridantam Balakar Prisham. Once, after the uprooting of the Yamala Arjuna trees, Rohini Devi went to call them, who had both gone to the riverside and were playing with the other boys with deep attention. Purport. Mother Yashoda was more attached to Krishna and Balaram than Rohini Devi was, although Rohini Devi was the mother of Balaram. Mother Yashoda sent Rohini Devi to call Rama and Krishna from their play, since it was the right time for lunch. Therefore, Rohini Devi went to call them, breaking their engagement in play. No peyatam yadahuto krida sangena putrako yashodam presayam asa rohini putra vatsalam. Sorry, I have to sneeze a lot. Oh, Krishna. Because of being too attached to playing with the other boys, Krishna and Balaram did not return upon being called by Rohini. Therefore, Rohini sent Mother Yashoda to call them back, because Mother Yashoda was more affectionate to Krishna and Balaram. Purport. Yashodang Bayam Asa. These very words show that since Krishna and Balaram did not care to return in response to the order of Rohini, Rohini thought that if Yashoda called, they would have to return, for Yashoda was more affectionate to Krishna and Balaram. Kridantam Sasutang Bala Ativelam sahagrajam Yashoda jovit Krishnam Putra snehasnutastani. Krishna and Balaram, being attached to their play, were playing with the other boys, although it was very late. Therefore, Yashoda called them back for lunch. Because of ecstatic love and affection for Krishna and Balaram, milk flowed from her breasts. Purport. The word ajohavit means calling them again and again. Krishna and Balaram, she called, please come back. You are late for you have played sufficiently. Come back. Krishna Krishna Ravindaksha Tata Ehi Stanam Piba Alang Viharai Kshut Kshanta Krida Shanto Siputraka. Mother Yashoda said, my dear son Krishna, lotus-eyed Krishna, come here and drink the milk of my breasts. My dear darling, you must be very tired because of hunger and the fatigue of playing so long. There's no need to play anymore. He Rachatatashu Sanuja Kulanandana Pratareva Kritaharas Tarbhavan Bhoktumarhati. My dear Baladev, best of our family, please come immediately with your younger brother Krishna. You both ate in the morning, and now you ought to eat something more. Pratikshate tamda sharha bhokshamano vrajadhipa ehyavayo priyam dehi swagrihan yatabalaka. Nanda Maharaj, the king of Raj, is now waiting to eat. Oh, my dear son Balaram, he is waiting for you. Therefore, come back to please us. All the boys playing with you and Krishna should now go to their homes. Purport. It appears that Nanda Maharaj regularly took his food with his two sons, Krishna and Balaram. Yashoda told the other boys, now you should go to your homes. Father and son generally sit together, so Mother Yashoda requested Krishna and Balaram to return, and she advised the other boys to go home so that their parents would not have to wait for them. Dhuli dhusaritang gastam putramajamavaha jarksham te janmarksham te bhavati viprebhyo dehika shuchi. Mother Yashoda further told Krishna, my dear son, because of playing all day, your body has become covered with dust and sand. Therefore, come back, take your bath, and cleanse yourself. Today the moon is conjoined with the auspicious star of your birth. Therefore, be pure and give cows in charity to the Brahmins. Purport. It is a custom of Vedic culture that whenever there is any auspicious ceremony, one should give valuable cows and charity to the Brahmins. Therefore, Mother Yashoda requested Krishna, instead of being enthusiastic in playing, now please come and be enthusiastic in charity. Yagya dana tapa natyajam karyam eva tat, as advised in Bhagavad Gita 18.5. Sacrifice, charity, and austerity should never be given up. Yagyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Even if one is very much advanced in spiritual life, one should not give up these three duties. To observe one's birthday ceremony, one should do something in terms of one of these three items: yagya, dana, or tapa, or all of them together. Pasya pasya vayasyangste matri mrishtan swalankritan tam chasnata kritahara viharasva swalankrita. Just see how all your playmates of your own age have been cleansed and decorated by their mothers. You should come here, and after you have taken your bath, eaten your lunch, and been decorated with ornaments, you may play with your friends again. Purport. Generally, young boys are competitive. If one friend has done something something, another friend also wants to do. Therefore, Mother Yashoda pointed out how Krishna's playmates were decorated, so that Krishna might be induced to decorate himself like them. Itam Yashoda tamashesha shekaram matva sutam sneha nibadadhye nripa hastetva saharam yam achutam nitva savatam kritavattatodayam. My dear Maharaj Parikshit, because of intense love and affection, Mother Yashoda, Krishna's mother, considered Krishna, who is at the peak of all up, to be her own son. Thus, she took Krishna by the hand along with Balaram and brought them home, where she performed her duties by fully bathing them, dressing them, and feeding them. Krishna is always clean and opulent and does not need to be washed, bathed, or dressed. Yashoda, because of affection, considered him her ordinary child and did her duties to keep her son brilliant. Shri Shuka Uvacha Upavrida Mahopatan Anbhuya Brihadvane Nadadhaya Samagamya Vrajakaryam Amantrayan. Shri Shukadev Goswami continued. Then, having seen the great disturbance, all the elderly persons among the cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, assembled and began to consider what to do to stop the continuous disturbing situations in Vraj. Tatro Ananda Namaha Gopagyana Vayodhika Desha Kalartha Tatvagya Priya Krid Ramakrishnaya. After this meeting of all the inhabitants of Gokula, a cowherd man named Upananda, who was the most mature in age and knowledge, and was very experienced according to time, circumstances, and country, made this suggestion for the benefit of Ram and Krishna. Which one is that? Upananda. So Upananda is Nanda Maharaj's older brother or younger brother? Upananda. Sounds like younger brother. Nanda Maharaj's brothers. Okay, Nanda Maharaj's elder brothers are Upananda and Abhinanda. And his younger brothers are Sananda and Nandan. So I guess that's the oldest brother. It's Upananda, I'm guessing. Oops. Utattavyam itosmabhir gokulasya hataishibi ayantyatra mahpata balanam nashahetava. He said, dear friends, the cowherd men, in order to do good to the place, Gokula, we should leave it, because so many disturbances are always occurring here, just for the purpose of killing Ram and Krishna. Mukta kanchir rakshasya balagnya balako yaso arer anughanunan anashchopari napatat. The child Krishna, simply by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, other rescued from the hands of the Rakshasi Putana, who was determined to kill him. Then again, by the mercy of the Supreme Godhead, the handcart missed falling upon the child. Chakravate nanitoyam daitena vipadam viyat shilayam patitastada paritrata ishvarai. Then again, the demon Trinavarta, in the form of a whirlwind, took the child away into the dangerous sky to kill him, but the demon fell down onto a slab of stone. In that case also, by the mercy of Lord Vishnu or his associates, the child was saved. Yannamriyetadrumayor antaram prapya balaka asav anyatamo vapi tarapya chutarakshanam. Even the other day, neither Krishna nor any of his playmates died from the falling of the two trees, although the other children were near the trees or even between them. This also is to be considered the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yavar otpatiko rishto vrajamnabhi bhaverita tavar balam upadaya yasyamonyatra sanuga. All these incidents are being caused by some unknown demon. If we create another disturbance, it is our duty to go somewhere else with the boys until there are no more disturbances. Purport. Upananda suggested, by the mercy of Lord Vishnu, Krishna has always been saved from so many dangerous incidents. Now let us leave this place and go someplace where we may worship Lord Vishnu undisturbed before there is another cause of death may attack us. The devotee desires only that he may external service undisturbed. Actually, we see, however, that even during the presence of Krishna, when other cowherd men had the Supreme Personality of Godhead in their presence, there were disturbances. Of course, in every case, Krishna came out victorious. The instruction we may derive from this is that we should not be disturbed by so-called disturbances. There are so many disturbances to our Krishna consciousness movement, but we cannot give up our forward march. On the contrary, people are receiving this movement very enthusiastically all over the world, and they are purchasing literature about Krishna consciousness with redoubled energy. Thus, there are both encouragements and disturbances. This was so even in Krishna's time. Varnam Vṛndāvanam nama pashavyam navananam gopi gopa gopi kavam sevyam punyadri trinavirudham. Between Nandeshwar and Mahavan is a place named Vṛndāvana. This place is very suitable because it is lush with grass, plants, and creepers for the cow animals. It has nice gardens and tall mountains and is full of facilities for the happiness of all the gopas and gopis and our animals. Purport. Vṛndāvana is situated between Nandeshwar and Mahavan. Formerly, the cowherd men had shifted to Mahavan, but disturbances. Therefore, the cowherd men selected Vṛndāvana, which was between the two villages, and decided to go there. Tatradyaivanyasyama shakatan yunktamachiram godananyagrato yantu bhavatam yadirochate. Therefore, let us immediately go today. There is no need to wait any further. If you agree to my proposal, let us prepare all the bullock carts and put cows in front of us, and let us go there. Tachruktvayka diyo gopa sadhu sadvitivadin prajan swansan samayujya yayurudha parichadha. Upon hearing this advice from Upananda, cowherd men unanimously agreed. Very nice, they said, very nice. Thus they sorted out their household affairs, placed their clothing and other paraphernalia on the carts, and immediately started for Vṛndāvana. That was pretty spontaneous decision and whatever. Yeah. Okay. Vriddham balam striyo rajan sarvopakaranani cha anahya anasvaropya gopala yatta ata sharasana godhanani puraskritya shringanya purya sarvata turya goshena mahata yayu saha purohita. Purita. Keeping all the old men, women, children, and household pair the bullock carts, and keeping all the cows in the front, the cowherd men picked up their bows and arrows with great care, and sounded bugles made of horn. O King Parikshit, and they, with bugles vibrating all around, the cowherd men, accompanied by their priests, began their journey. Purport. In this connection, it is to be noted that although the inhabitants were mostly cowherd men and cultivators, they knew how to defend themselves from danger and how to give protection to the women, the old men, the cows, and the children, as well as to the Brahminical Purohitas. Gopyarudoratanutna kucha kunkuma kantaya Krishna lila jagopritya nishka kantya suvasasa. One second. The cowherd women riding on the bullock carts were dressed very nicely with excellent garments, and their breasts were decorated with fresh kumkum powder. As they rode, they began to chant with great pleasure the pastimes of Krishna. Udarohinyav ekam shakatamastite re jatushna ramabhyam tatkata shravanotsuke. Thus, hearing about the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great pleasure, Mother Yashoda and Rohini Devi, so as not to be separated from Balaram for even a moment, got up with them on one bullock cart. In this situation, they all looked very beautiful. Purport. It appears that Mother Yashoda and Rohini could not be separated from Krishna and Balaram even for a moment. They used to pass their time either by taking care of Krishna and Balaram or by chanting about their pastimes. Thus, Mother Yashoda and Rohini looked very beautiful. Vṛndāvanam sampravishya sarvakala sukavaham tatra chakrur vrajavasam shakatar ardra chandravat. In this way, they entered Vṛndāvana. It is always pleasing to live in all seasons. They made a temporary place to inhabit by placing their bullock carts around them in the shape of a half moon. That is Chatikara. Purport. As stated in the Vishnu Puran, Shakataparyantas Chandrartha Karasamstite. As stated in the Harivangsha, Kantaki bhi pravridhabhis tata kanta kibhir drumai nikhato chrita shakabhir abhiguptam samantata. There is no need to make fences all around. One side is already defended by thorn trees, and thus the thorn trees and animals encircled the inhabitants in their temporary residence. Vṛndāvanam govardhanam yamuna pulinanicha viksid uttama priti rama madhavayor nripa. O King Parikshit, when Ram and Krishna saw Vṛndāvan, Govardhan, and the banks of the river Yamuna, they both enjoyed great pleasure. Evam vrajoka sampritim yachanto balach kalavakyai svakalena vatsapabhavuvatu. In this way, Krishna and Balaram, acting like small boys and talking in half-broken language, gave transcendental pleasure to all the inhabitants of Vraj. In due course of time, they became old enough to take care of the calves. Purport. As soon as Krishna and Balaram were a little grown up, they were meant for taking care of the calves. Although born of a very well-to-do family, they still had to take care of. This was a system of education. Those who were not born in Brahmin families were not meant for academic education. The Brahmins were trained in a literary education. The Kshatriyas were trained to take care of the state, and the Vaishyas learned how to cultivate the land and take care of the cows and calves. There was no need to waste time going to school to be falsely educated and later increase the numbers of the unemployed. Kṛṣṇa and Balaram taught us by their personal behavior. Kṛṣṇa took care of the cows and played his flute, and Balaram took care of the agricultural activities with a plow in his hands. Interesting. I never heard that Balaram was more engaged in agricultural activities. Avidure vraja bhuva saha gopala darakai charayam asatur vatsan nana kreda parichado. Not far away from the residential quarters, both Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, equipped with all kinds of playthings, played with other cowherd boys and began to tend the small calves. Kvachidvadayato venum kshepanay kshipatit kvachit pad kinkinibhi kvachit kritrimago vrishaya vrishayamanayo vrishayamano nardanto yuyudhate parasparam anukritya rutar jantunsh cheratu prakrito yata. Sometimes Kṛṣṇa and Balaram would play on their flutes. Sometimes they would throw ropes and stones devised for getting fruits from the trees. Sometimes they would throw stones, and sometimes, their ankle bells tinkling, they would play football with fruit bale and amalaki. That's neat, football with fruits. Sometimes they would cover themselves with blankets and imitate cows and fight with one another, roaring loudly. And since they would imitate the voices of the animals. In this way, they enjoyed sporting, exactly like two ordinary human children. Oh, that is such a sweet verse. Oh, 2 verses. I want to save this one. This one's a great one. 1 second. Vṛndāvana is full of Kujat kokang sasara sagana kirne mayura kule. The forest is always full of cuckoos, ducks, swans, peacocks, cranes, and also monkeys, bulls, and cows. So Kṛṣṇa and Balaram used to imitate the sounds of these animals and enjoy sporting. 1 second, just making sure. Hare Krishna Shasharmaji. Kadachid yamuna tire vatsangscharayato svakai vayasyai Kṛṣṇa balayor jighangsur daitya agamat. One day, while Rama and along with their playmates were tending the calves on the banks of the One day, while Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, along with their playmates, were tending the calves on the bank of the river Yamuna, another demon arrived there, desiring to kill them. Tang Vatsārupinam Viksha Vatsayuta Gatam Hari Darshayan Baladevaya Shanar Mugdha Ivasadat. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead saw that the demon had assumed the form of a calf and entered among the group of the other calves, he pointed out to Baladev, "Here is another demon." Then he very slowly approached the demon as if he did not understand the demon's intentions. Purport. The import of the words Mugdha Iva is that although Kṛṣṇa knows everything, here he pretended that he did not understand why the demon had entered among the calves, and he informed Baladev by a sign. Grihitva parapadayam sahalangulmachuta brahmayitva kapitagre prahinor katajivitam sa kapitar mahaka patyamai papataha. Thereafter, Sri Krishna caught the demon by the hind legs and tail, pulled the demon's whole body very strongly until the demon was dead, and threw him into the top of a kapita tree, which then fell down, the body of the demon who had assumed a great form. What's a kapita? What? Krishna killed the demon in such a way as to get the kapita fruits to fall so that he and Balaram and the other boys could take advantage of the opportunity to eat them. The kapita is sometimes called kshatbhelfal. The pulp of this fruit is very palatable. It is sweet and sour, and everyone likes it. Is it bale fruit? Okay, there's kapita fruit. Oh, well, this is, yeah. Oh, that looks like bale. Yeah, it is bale. Okay. Yep, that's totally bale. Okay. But bale sour, I guess it is a bit sour. Not really though. Yeah. Tamviksha, yeah, it is sour. Sorry. Tamviksha vismita bala shashamsu sadhu sadviti devascha parisantushta babhuvu pushpavarshina. Upon seeing the dead body of the demon, all the cowherd boys exclaimed, "Well done, Krishna! Very good, very good, thank you." In the upper planet, all the demigods were pleased, and therefore they showered flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're ending with this verse here. To vatsa palako bhutva sarvalokai kapalako sapratarasho go vatsangsh charayanto vicheratu. After the killing of the demon, Krishna and Balaram finished their breakfast in the morning, and while continuing to take care of calves, they wandered here and there. Krishna and Balaram, the Supreme Personalities of Godhead, who maintain entire creation, now took charge of the calves as if the cowherd boys. Sorry, as if cowherd boys. I don't know why I added that. Purport. Pranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam. Krishna's daily business here in this material world was to kill the dushkritis. This did not hamper his daily affairs, for it was routine work. While he tended the calves on the river Yamuna, 2 or 3 incidents took place every day, and although these were serious, killing the demons one after another appeared to be his daily routine work. All right, so we'll finish up this chapter. There's not that much left tomorrow. And I think I'll have to check, but we might be able to finish off this chapter and read Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary for the full chapter. So that will all be tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Raj Bhuvan Yadav ji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Okay, Sudevi Didi, I'll check my messenger. Yeah, so. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Giri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtottara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtottara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gokula Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Hairas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Vraja Mandala Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti ki jai. Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Krishna Kanaya ki jai. Shri Dauji Daubaya ki jai. Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Nanda Baba Yashoda Maya ki jai. Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gan ki jai. Sarva Vrajavasi Gan ki jai. Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Bhakti Hriday Ban Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Thirabhavti jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patita Pavane Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. And sorry I didn't respond. I got a bunch of messages yesterday and I didn't respond to any of them, but I will do so after breakfast this morning. So sorry about the delay in that with messages. Okay, Haribol, see you all tomorrow. Dandavat pranams, Rukmini Didi.